What's up, buds? Welcome to another episode of the Earbuds Podcast. This is a podcast where two buds talk about two albums
Yep.
for 2.5 seconds.
Yep.
We're
We're
done.
This. Yep. Yep. We're in a hurry. We're doing this quick.
Today we got a very special episode for y'all. This is the long-awaited viewer episode where we come in, we kind of talk about a couple albums y'all brought to us from other videos, from comment sections.
Yes.
Just showing that, like, man, we're just open to listen to anything. And today we got it. We got a stacked set list ahead of us today.
Yes, we do.
We got Jessica Rabbit by Sleigh Bells and King's Disease by Nas and Hitboy. My name is Brett Hanrahan. I am co-host of the podcast. That is Lucas Nasty Nas Indrakovs.
Oh, okay.
As always, co-hosting. I'm excited to get into these, man.
I am too, man. I want to call this almost like a listener appreciation episode where it's just like, thank you to the buddies that have been commenting, watching our shit, recommending different records. And it's like, we've been sitting on these for so long at this point that we felt like we owed it to you guys a little bit to make sure that we kind of, we followed through. We're asking you guys for recommendations all the time, and we've gotten some really, really good ones. So I'm excited to get into this too, man. I think we should talk about Nas, King's Disease first, honestly.
All right.
And I mean, the first thing that I want to say is Nas is a goddamn national treasure.
He has had a long and rough career, man. Illmatic being his debut and him like just never really topping it has, I'm sure, always been a thorn in his side. But
yeah, being considered a classic must be hard to continue making classics, man. He's not Pusha T,
but
not everything he makes
he's
is
not.
a classic.
He's not making masterpieces.
Exactly.
But look, this guy in this like new phase that he's kind of entered in with Hitboy, he's kind of remaking himself, and it's good stuff so far.
Dude, this is Nas's 13th studio album, and he's pretty fucking strong on it, man. And it won him his first Grammy, which I cannot believe it took 13 records for Nas to win a Grammy. Like, what is it with award shows waiting until someone's past their prime to like finally give them their flowers that they deserve?
Oh, they love
like, what the fuck, man?
That,
yeah, they love doing that. Like Leo DiCaprio won for The Revenant, when it's just like, dude, there were probably 10 movies before The Revenant came out that he should have won an Oscar. And it's across the board with Grammys too. And it's like the people who are behind the academies of these award shows, they don't really know what's quality and what isn't. I swear to God, they're only looking at like record sales or, at this point, probably TikTok followers.
Dude, I don't know what their MO is. I don't know if there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that influences their choices. Honestly, I don't care anymore. I kind of take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But man, did this one win it? Did this one win the Grammy?
It won the Grammy. It was his first Grammy he's ever won, and it won for Best Hip Hop Record of the Year, which I didn't look into like who the other nominees were. I'm super, super curious about that. But I got to say, like, Nas was pretty damn good on this record, and Hitboy proving once again that he's like definitely one of the best producers in rap right now.
There's some pretty good songs on this one. Honestly, we got this recommendation through listening to Magic.
Yes,
which
we loved.
Yeah, their most recent record. Honestly, I kind of prefer that one a little bit. I think the beats were, it's kind of a different vibe. I thought the beats were a little more interesting. On this one, we have 13 songs or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's like a 38-minute record or something. Like it's not very long.
Short but sweet, and they do what they need to do and they get out. The features on this one are
that's what's interesting, man, is Magic, the whole album had one feature, A$AP Rocky.
Yeah, who's also on the last song of that's A$AP Ferg. Never mind.
Yeah, A$AP Ferg. And it's weird, man. He's got something like 7 or 8, maybe even more features on this record, and it doesn't compare. It's like when it's just Nas, to me, it's way better.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nas and Hitboy definitely have this relationship that is concrete solid by now,
Yeah.
and they just know how to work with each other. And Hitboy knows what beats Nas likes, and Nas, you know, likes going along with those beats. It's kind of how would you describe like the general atmosphere of this album?
I think it's a lot of combining, the classic like samples that you would find in hip hop records and a lot of jazz and electronic stuff. Like it's very
Yeah.
jazzy. It's really pleasing on the ear. Every song is really well produced and polished and just
Mhm.
nice to listen to.
Yeah, I always appreciate especially rap albums that give you a sense of kind of a room in the album.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not all like extremely tight, no reverb, just fucking bass. Like there's a good amount of room, there's a lot of distant instruments, there's a lot of kind of reverb on the drums that I appreciate.
Yeah.
And it gives this whole album just a nice sense of like I don't know, man, we could just be jamming these songs out on the street somewhere.
A lot of these beats are kind of dreamy too. That's what I like. That's what
Yeah.
you mean, right? They're airy, they're dreamy, they're roomy.
Yeah, they're dreamy. They're not as like dreamy and moody as Magic. They're still a little more traditional,
I mean, a lot of the
but
beats are kind of trying to bring back that 90s New York boom bap style, kind of, but putting in a lot more jazz and electronic stuff in there versus just kind of having a hard beat, with some strings and a really stripped down song. Like these songs are all really layered. So like I like it a
yeah.
lot. And I mean, outside of the music, like talk about layered with Nas's lyricism and wordplay. I mean, you could literally spend hours looking up all the references and trying to get into all the deep
Yep.
cut callbacks that he's doing across the whole record. Like reading along to these lyrics, I mean, it's literally line by line. I mean, I'm constantly like floored with Nas. And I think that's what brought this record down a little bit for me was not Nas. It wasn't Hit Boy. It was the features. I did not enjoy the features. Like they were kind of all over the place too. I mean, he had a lot of the big guys, especially at the time, whenever this album came out. He had like Big Sean, Lil Durk, Fivio Foreign or Fivio Foreign. I think it's Fivio Foreign. But then you got like Anderson Paak and Foxy Brown. And
Mm.
so like there are some legit people on there that I really, really like, but I'm not into the Little Durks and the Don Tollivers of the world right now. It's just not hip hop that I enjoy. So they brought their own flavor to some of these songs, and I just kind of it didn't
Uh,
land on me.
And Don Tolliver, by the way, extremely a pseudonym for John Oliver. Like it's definitely John Oliver
It's probably
doing
John
that,
Oliver.
right?
Yeah, it's probably John Oliver in a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
All right.
assuming. I mean,
That's
he does a really good American accent.
I feel like he could pull it off, weirdly enough.
I've been
If you
watching a
just like
lot of
don't look at him,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I've been watching a lot of Community, and I'm just like, is this Don Toliver or is this John Oliver? Like, I can't tell anymore.
I
Like,
get him mixed up all the
it's
time.
like Machiavelli or Tupac. Like, who or like, I don't know who's who anymore. I get confused. But Nas, I
Uh
mean, his lyrics, I mean, more of the socially conscious, storytelling and lyrics and that we're used to from Nas, but it just doesn't, compared to another album that we're going to be talking about on the next episode, Nas's themes and subject matter don't necessarily change that much from album to
no.
album or song to song, but they don't get tired for me. They don't get old.
No, yeah, I was gonna get into that a little bit, is that it is kind of the same themes, but the themes are still a breath of fresh air
Yeah.
in this genre. It's uh he talks a lot about the past, right? And how he grew up in where he lived. There's a lot of empowerment songs which are really cool.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is in Replace Me, where he says, "Only thing worse than being alone is wishing you were."
Yeah.
You
Holy
know?
shit. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, man, because he kind of the dichotomy of his messaging and the things that he seems to value. It's interesting that he can go back and forth. Again, it reminds me of Tupac a little bit, where like in one song, he'll say bitches and hoes over and over again. And then the next song, he's just like, shout out to all the single moms, and shout out to all the strong women and stuff. And it's that kind of
Yeah.
like yeah, like the dichotomy. I just don't.
It,
It gets kind of complicated, and I think it's interesting because people are complicated, right? So it's like Nas
yeah,
is no
well,
different. I mean, he's gonna one day he's
as
gonna feel this way, and the next hour he might feel differently. You know?
Tupac was saying in his music, as Kendrick was saying on T-Pab, there's this kind of like there is that those two sides of like I want to be what I was in the streets versus like my new opened up ideals and kind of what
Yeah.
I've seen about
What
the
I've
world.
learned, right? And I think Nas even says it in the beginning of one of these songs, and I can't remember which one, but he's like, all the guys who want to be street guys, don't be a street guy. You know, like he's telling, like, there's a lot of that all across this record too. And I don't know if it's just Nas getting older, but there's a lot of him like talking to the young people in
Sure.
a lot of his
Yeah.
songs, right? Like trying to give advice and kind of
Like
be
kind of
like
mentoring a little bit.
Big Brother type
Yeah, yeah,
mentoring
for sure.
energy, you know.
Yeah.
But I like this quote a lot from Robin Murray. He said the King's disease finds Nas grappling with a raft of contradictions, contrasting the opulence of his lifestyle with the need for vitality in his message. It's not perfect, but it's less of an end product and more of a search for the creative process, which I understand as I listen to the album. Like he likes talking shit and he likes to brag, but he's also not trying to tear anyone down in the process. And he's almost trying to like lift a lot of people up while he's talking shit and
Yeah.
bragging. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting, you know, like it is that almost, you know, every other verse is like he is sort of showing the other side of the story, you know, and showing
Yeah,
the other side of himself.
he's been doing this long enough that he kind of has this maturity and this experience to look at both sides and kind
Yeah.
of thinking about their positives and negatives. Uh,
And like we were saying too, like it all kind of blends in together. The stuff that he talks about is not that different from song to song, and it all kind of blends together because it's all just good. Like it's all the lyricism is good, and again comparing, I mean, I don't even want to spoil the next episode, but I have very similar thoughts about someone that we're going to talk about in the next episode, another rapper, but in a negative light. Where when it comes to Nas, I'm just like, I don't care if it's all so similar because I like it all. It's all really good. Like it's not. There's never a moment where it feels same to me. I'm just kind of like, yeah, he found another way to say that, and it's just as cool as the last way he found to say it. You know?
well, Mr. Similar, why don't we get into some choice tracks then?
I think so. I think it's time. You know, obviously we're kind of this is kind of we're treating this a little bit like a shorty episode where we're not really dissecting it too much, and we're trying to bust out two albums in this episode at the length of one episode. So we're gonna kind of bust through this. But yeah, man, I think you know, I did have a decent amount, even though I didn't like this album as much as Magic, and it sounds like you didn't either. I did have a decent number of honorable mentions outside of my choice nugs.
Yeah,
Some of my you know more favorite songs on this, not my super top two, but like Blue Benz, I liked a lot. Car 85, I liked a lot. 27 Summers, The Definition, 10 Points, and Spicy. I thought all those songs were legit.
I thought yeah, Spicy was one of my honorables. I thought it was a really cool beat. My honorable mentions are kind of absolutely none of yours aside from that one.
So all the ones I didn't like, you did. How many times are we gonna do this to each other?
I liked King's Disease, Replace Me, The Cure, and Spicy were my honorable mentions. But if we want to get into the choices, my first one is gonna be All Bad, Baby.
All bad. What number is that, dude? That's like number 6 or 7. Oh, that's the one with Anderson Pack.
That's number 8. It's
Hawk
with the
Pack.
Anderson Pack. As soon
Yeah.
as I heard that drum beat, I'm like, fuck, man. He's on this one. Anderson Pack is a fantastic musician, singer, but he's also a really weirdly good drummer. He's got
A
an
really good drummer.
amazing finesse on his
Yes.
writing hand.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh
I just saw he's almost like doing like a world tour right now of just like playing drums for people. Just like randomly jumping in and playing drums.
dude, I would feel unworthy to have him drumming on my tracks.
Apparently, I
But
think he like played drums for Red Hot Chili Peppers the other day in like Rome or some shit. Yeah,
okay,
pretty crazy. But
I
yeah,
gotta
All
check
Bad.
that out.
Like we both love Waiting on All Bad.
Do you not get sloppy wet every time you hear his voice?
Yeah, I do, but I prefer his rapping over his singing. You know what I mean? So
Okay,
all
and he
he did,
definitely is kind of,
yeah,
yeah.
all he did on All Bad was sing the hook essentially, and he had like one, maybe 4 or 6 line verse or something, and it sounds like he's playing the drums, which is like he's doing something else on it. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a waste. So, bro, what was it about All Bad that you liked? Because obviously, I wasn't a huge fan.
Uh,
Obviously,
man,
I don't like your taste.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
like
know.
your
It's
choices that you make.
something I have to deal with every day.
Yep, so me
um,
too. I have to contend with you every day.
I loved how smooth and sensual this song is, man. It's
Mhm.
extremely like it might just be something copy and pasted out of that fucking group that him and Bruno Mars had, you know?
Yeah, Silk Sonic.
Silk Sonic, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a nice kind of reverb on it. Anderson Paak is like phasey. I just love the vibes on that one, man, and I got it like I'm such a simp for Pack, so I gotta give it to him whenever he shows up.
I don't blame you, man. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like that song just kind of. I was so excited. I literally in my notes in all caps I put Anderson Pack with like an exclamation points. I was like, "Fuck yes!" Like the first feature on the album that I was excited to hear, and then I was just like, "Oh, all he's doing is just singing this kind of like lame throwback soul chorus." I don't know. I don't mean to
Uh,
shit on your on one of your favorite songs, but like
no, I mean go
fuck
ahead
that
and
song.
shit, but tell me what your shit is.
Yeah, I my first one was Ultra Black.
Ultra Black, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's track number 4. It kind of the beat kind of remind me of an old Kanye beat, like sort of like a church inspired piano stuff that was going on with like that driving 808 percussion and the really weird
Yeah.
twinkly like synth stuff that was going on. I thought the music was really fun.
Yeah, it for sure gives Nas a lot of room to kind of really wrap around the beat however he likes with
Yeah.
the kind of piano hits and the drum hits kind of hitting together through the whole time, talking about what Ultra Black means to him.
Yeah, like I feel like Nas has always had a this through line of just celebrating like black people and black culture, and I feel like he was kind of like tripling down or quadrupling down on that on this album, where he was just like he was just celebrating it to the utmost that he could, and I
Yeah.
love that in Ultra Black that he has the line, "No matter what your race is, we're all black," and I'm like, that's a really cool way to think, where it's like, no matter what your race is, like we're all in this together, like we're
I mean,
all black, we're all human, you
I
know.
thought that was an interesting take that he had cuz like isn't that like I'm not one to say but like isn't that kind of against the entire whole thing of it? Is that
Mm,
like we're not all black and like the people in power and the majority are not black and that's something you have to deal with? Is that racism?
yeah, but I think it's just another way of saying we're all in this together.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And I also don't know why I don't get the diss on Doja Cat. I'm not really following Doja Cat or
Oh, you
anything.
don't get, dude. They're like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago or something. She was basically like renouncing her blackness in some of these like IG lives that she was doing.
What?
Yeah, it was really strange. It was really strange. Like she was saying that she doesn't identify as black or something. I'm trying to remember. I remember there was a lot of
All right.
controversy, tons of controversy when it came out. But I like that he called her out because she's kind of regained her popularity. And did you lose me? What happened? But yeah, what I was saying that like it's weird that Doja Cat is getting really popular again now because it seems like everyone just forgot all that crazy shit she was saying a few years ago. Even she was saying some like really homophobic shit too. I'm just
Oh,
kind of like,
awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
And that's what it kind of, a lot of people are saying like cancel culture doesn't exist. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm starting to realize that. Like people, there's just
Well,
so much ridiculous shit happening every single day that like no one can remember that Doja Cat said all that stupid shit 5 years ago or whatever.
all cancel culture ever really was getting the word out that this person did something. It didn't actually stop them from doing
No, if
anything.
anything, she's more popular now than she's ever been. So
Yeah,
it's strange.
whatever. That's the thing.
But I like that Nas calls out Hall and Oates on it too. He goes like Hall and Oates is not where it's at or something. I'm just like, that's hilarious.
It's like, what do you mean Hall and Oates isn't ultra black?
Yeah, I'm like,
I'm
come on, man.
sorry, Bridge Over Troubled Water,
Yeah, I
sir.
mean, man eater. That's I don't know. That's pretty fucking.
Sorry, I did Simon and Garfunkel.
It's a choice cut. Oh, yes. Sounds of Silence much,
I should have just leaned into it.
dude. What's your second favorite song?
My second favorite, I accidentally said it as an honorable mention. You know how I love an intro. It's King's Disease.
Yeah, it's a great
Yep.
intro. Great intro. The super
It's a
dreamy
cool
beat.
intro. Yeah, it's got a kind of weird, like a soul sample behind it. It's got these little voices going all throughout that are kind of weird. I think it's a great, like, couple verses to intro the album on.
Yeah, I like that he's talking about like Black history too, like saying that algebra was created in Africa, and kind of like referencing this piece of history. And then I like also
Yeah.
that he's talking about all these current rappers that are only worried about clout, and like no one's trying to lift each other up right now, and everyone's just trying to get the better of each other. And I like he's calling that out too. It is a great opener to the album.
Yeah. What's your second nug?
Mine is The Cure, one of your honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Dude, the little like bass and horns matching up with their little harmony that they were doing together back and
Mhm.
forth was so cool. It's a really melodic beat with all the synth and the lead guitar stuff, which is like really different for the record. It's a very different beat compared to the rest of the album, and I really dig it.
Yeah, I thought you would have pegged this as my choice nug because it's
I
kind
thought it
of
was
got
going to be. I thought it was going to be because there
it's
was kind
got
of
those little weirdo medieval flutes that are
yes,
kind of doing that shit in the background.
and the switch up about 2 minutes in, the beat completely
Yeah.
switches, and I really didn't expect it. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's awesome, man. The beat goes in a little harder. It's got that kind of girl vocal sample in the
Yeah.
back. I did love that.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick before we get to our ratings, my favorite line is I think it's in The Cure. He goes, "Everything from sexy to deadly. I done been through that shit. Still going deeper like I grew a new inch on my dick." I just had to call that. That's an
fucking
amazing line, dude.
That's great.
An
You
amazing line.
stupid.
So what's your rating for this, man? We already said that we didn't dig it as much as Magic, and I think I gave Magic like a solid 8 point something, if not higher.
It's a little more the same of Nas. If you come to Nas, you kind of know what you're looking for, especially with all this new Hit Boy stuff that's coming out. All the beats are really nice.
Yes.
I actually bumped this rating up an entire point on my most recent listen just because
Dang.
I was really appreciating the beats. And even though it's like not my favorite type of rap, which is just like something more aggressive or something more experimental,
Yeah.
it's a great listen. The lyrics are solid all throughout, consistent. I'm giving this one a 7.3.
That's solid, man. Honestly, I think mine's gonna be right around that area. It's like you said, like this is kind of more same from Nas, but same from Nas is actually really good compared to a lot
You
of other
like
people.
same from Nas.
I like same from Nas. I got to give it up to him that he finally won a Grammy with this one. And like you said, Hit Boy is just they're just such a perfect pairing, the two of them.
Yep.
They work so it's like Alchemist and Action Bronson. I'm like, I don't think Nas could find a better producer for what he's trying to do. Um, Nas brought it with his lyrics, but I got to say, my least favorite thing throughout the entire record, my least favorite moments were all the features. I didn't really enjoy any of the features except ASAP Ferg at the end. So that's got to knock it down for me a little bit. I think I'm going to be more like if I'm going to be honest, I got to be honest. I'm going to give it like a 6.5. Harsh. I know.
Wow.
I know. I'm being hard on the guy.
Well, look, I think he appreciates that. He knows that he can do better, and he did.
And he did.
And look, we might have King's Disease 2 coming up in a viewer episode. We'll see if we'll see the development there, but for now, let's get into our second half, huh?
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to thank the listener who suggested this album, and that is Kes929 on YouTube. Thank you, KES929. Sorry if we didn't like it as much as you wanted us to.
Well,
Yeah, whatever. Fucking
tell Nas to get better. I don't know.
yeah. Tell Nas to get better features, or don't give fucking Don Tolliver any more mic time. Personally, that's what I
Lord
would
knows
like.
he has enough fucking screen time doing his daily shows.
Yeah, he's already done 6 seasons in a movie of Community or whatever. Like he can. I don't think we need it.
The movie's coming up.
The movie's
Don't
coming
worry,
up.
the movie's happening.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. But the next album that we're talking about, which was brought to us by Ellie's cousin on YouTube, recommended. We did Texas, the latest album from Sleigh Bells, and we got a ton of comments on that one saying like you guys should check out some of their earlier records, because the last that either of us had really heard of Sleigh Bells is a very different sound than we heard on Texas. And they said that a lot of the listeners said that they had brought that sound, had kind of evolved to that sound way earlier than me and you
Yeah,
had
well,
realized.
because I'd only heard Sleigh Bells from their first record. That was all I really knew at that point. And then I heard
Same.
their latest record like a decade later.
Yeah,
And
and it was so different. But Jessica Rabbit seems like the midpoint, right?
Jessica Rabbit is what everyone was suggesting, saying a lot of people think this is their best album. Seems like it was kind of the ushering in point of their next phase
Yes.
of their musical career, where they kind of it's a like less noisy in a hurt you kind of way,
Yes.
right?
It's still really aggressive music.
It's still aggressive. We still got hard beats. We still got distorted guitars, but the general production is a lot more accessible. They have some really catchy moments on a lot of these
Extremely.
songs.
Almost every song is ridiculously catchy
Yeah.
on this record. Like, man, I gotta say, like Alexis's vocals are just so perfect. Weirdly enough, like are so perfect for the music that I didn't even bother to learn his name, but the guy who writes all the
Wow.
music. I mean, I just
The
look at
guy who does all
Alexis,
the music, who does all the
all
production,
the
who writes
production.
the lyrics.
Yeah, I don't really care. Alexis is the front woman, and I find her extremely attractive.
Okay.
And I
Well,
also
all right.
love her voice and love her the way it's like that you can have this really aggressive dance music to the point where it almost sounds like power metal or like the Mortal Kombat soundtrack at times, but then you can have this really sweet sounding female vocalist on top of it, and somehow it works really, really well.
Yeah, well, however they came up with the idea to have this she was a little more bratty at first, but she's got this kind of sweet voice with with some power behind it,
Yeah.
and that dichotomy of that powerful noisy music and that melodic voice is, kind of what this entire band is based off of.
Yeah, and the music is all over the place, dude. Like this is like
Yeah.
a salad. This is like a music salad. Like every song has 6 or 7 different genres within
I think
it's insane.
no, yeah, it's cool to see where they go with this one. Like Crucible would probably be the best example of how weird and patchworky they can get on this album, where
Dude,
they're just kind of sticking a bunch of noises together,
even
and
in the first like 10 seconds of Crucible, the song goes in like 4 different directions.
which I love,
Yeah, I love it too,
and
man.
but they have that style like on Can't Stand You Anymore, where they have this swagger kind of rhythm with a distorted riff, and just a nice catchy pop chorus. That's
Dude,
kind of their bread and butter.
I Can't Stand You Anymore is like if Poison and Taylor Swift wrote a song together. It's the weirdest combination. I liked that song so much, mostly because of how absurd it sounded to me. It was just like this 80s hair metal mixed with Taylor Swift, like country pop stuff. It was so strange. I love how Sleigh Bells' music can be so airy and cavernous and open with these like really reverb synthesizers, and Alexis's voice will sound like they're just in the like she's performing in the middle of an empty arena. And then on the flip just a flip of a switch, like it'll immediately feel extremely claustrophobic and walled in once those guitars and like really heavy bass drum come in. And it's just such a cool sonic dynamic album, and every song is just so sonically all over the place that like if you have ADHD, this album is probably a cure for it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I do think that if you are not in the mood for the trope that is sleigh bells,
Right.
uh, you're not
Oh,
gonna
it'll be
like the
grating,
album.
dude. It'll be
It's gonna
grating.
be rough because as dynamic as the sound tends to be, and all these different instruments and synths and effects they try out, it is kind of just pop vocalist
Yeah.
behind hard beats, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it's also really, really heavily distorted guitars that are super choppy. And there's like no reverb on those guitars at all. They're really, really sharp. And then
Yeah.
they pair that with a really, really loud, distorted kick drum that sounds almost like blown out and like over distorted. And then Alexis's voice just works so perfectly for it with her sweet, clean, bright delivery, but her voice is really powerful and she can get really loud. And I feel like her voice was somehow stronger in Texas, but it's still great on this record.
And the lyrics are interesting because she can flip between talking about some ultra violence gore
Yes.
shit to talking about like, oh baby, I love you, and it just works out either way.
Yeah, it works so well. And all of their hooks are so fucking catchy. And Alexis just has one of those voices that makes you think that you have a great voice while you're singing along. And you don't sound as good as her. She just singing, you want to sing along with every single song. And her voice blending in with mine, I'm just like, hey,
I,
I'm pretty
that
fucking good.
and that is not at all a subtle kind of like, hey, maybe we should get together or something.
No,
It
this
seems
is
like that's kind of what you're trying to do.
like maybe like a Alison Krauss, Robert Plant type of situation where like,
Yeah, or just like kind of like a making out type of situation is what you're going for.
hey, I'm a made man.
You're made for fucking
Look,
sleigh bells, is what you're made for.
look but don't touch. You know what I mean? It's like any other woman in my life is like a sea urchin, like
What the fuck does that mean?
or like a sea, like a poisonous like sea anemone or something. Like I can look at it, I can admire it, but if I touch it, I fucking die.
That's so fucking weird. Let's
Let's
get
get
on to the fucking choice nugs.
all right, man. What were your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions are It's Just Us Now.
Yep, me too.
It Cool intro to the album. Another thing I love is how like tightly they can just completely switch the vibe of a song like they do on this one.
All right, bro. So what were your honorable mentions, man?
Well, I love an intro. So
Love a good
it's just us now is one of my honorable mentions.
They're all first impressions, man.
I just love,
You know, a lot.
you know, it's always got to be a choice when a band chooses their first song,
Yeah,
It's
and
it's it's super important and
you
it's
gotta set
interesting what they choose.
you gotta set people up, right? Like you gotta set expectations, and like it's that song is just so weirdly heavy but poppy and catchy, and
Yeah,
and then the switch up that is completely unexpected, and I loved it.
they they love doing that on this album. I love hearing it. They just like from the verse to the chorus, they'll just like switch up completely, maybe even change the tempo, just like change the entire sound of the song. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, me too.
Uh Can't Stand You Anymore. I think that's like the iconic Sleigh Bell song.
It is
Uh
that
and
fucking
those
weird southern rock guitar breakdown part, like near the end. Fucking weird, man. It just I didn't understand, and I loved it.
but my first choicey is gonna be a song I mentioned earlier, Crucible.
Crucible, me too.
Yes, boy, let's
Yeah,
fucking go. This is a patchwork song if I've ever heard one.
really well. It's like a it's like a quilt, like a
It's
quilted song.
with all different types of colors and
Yeah,
textures
all
and
these different
shades.
patterns, and it's like if you got a quilt of like all of your old band shirts, you know, and it's just like it goes from Descendants to fucking Britney Spears to NSYNC to fucking Notorious B.I.G. That's
Yeah.
that's what Crucible feels like.
and I just love the cacophony of noises throughout the whole thing. It's the exact type of thing I love in music, where
Yeah.
there's all this stuff that you can not notice, and every time you go back, there's something new.
Yeah, you have the attention span of a sperm. So
Yeah,
you love that
yeah,
every 3 seconds
dude.
something
Hey,
changes.
man, thank you.
You're welcome. You think I
I
didn't
feel
notice.
I
You
feel
think I
like you
didn't
don't
notice.
compliment me enough.
I know, I'm saying like it's kind of like with with a girlfriend or something where it's just like, yeah, you didn't think I noticed that you did something different with your hair? No, I noticed.
Ah, ah, ah,
I'm gonna
ah.
withhold. So when I
Till
finally
the right moment
when I finally
where I
compliment
can take
you,
the
it means,
advantage of it.
yes, it means
Yeah.
so much. Or like if you're ever mad at me, I'm gonna be like, hey, but you got the attention span of a sperm. You're just like, "Oh, I can't.
And you know what, Lucas?
Hmm.
I love that about you.
Thanks, man. Thank you that I withhold
I like that you withhold,
that I'm
man.
withholding.
It's like one of my favorite character traits.
Dude,
Uh,
Crucible 2, like they have that weirdly Middle Eastern sounding electric trumpet
yeah,
thing going on. And then when they cut
it's
the beat in half and it gets like really clippy and the beat kind of like gets a little more grooving and it's not
mhm.
as like aggressive and fast paced. Like there's just so many things that they did on that song. It's really
Yeah, and
cool.
there's a whole switch up where they get like a MIDI acoustic guitar or something.
I
Is
don't,
what
yeah.
that sounds like.
There's so many sounds throughout the record that I don't know what it is. Like I don't know how they're producing that sound.
Well, what were your Anis and
My
Nuggies?
honeys. Lightning turns sawdust gold. I really liked the rhythm a lot. The dynamics on that song are just absolutely ridiculous. Like stuff constantly cutting in and out and building upon itself and then
Yeah.
completely stripping itself of everything. It's really fun. Like you said, I can't stand you anymore. It's just us now. Throw me down the stairs. I really liked a lot. Like even though that guitar part, that riff kind of sounded like a Creed song from back in the day, like I still really liked it. I liked a lot of songs on this, man, but I would say, I mean, As If was almost. The closing track was almost an choice nug for me, but I had to go with the one right before it, Hyper Dark.
Oh, Hyper Dark. Okay, it is a very creepy song
Very creepy,
at the
but
start.
kind of dreamy, but I love the title. I was like, Hyper Dark. I'm already into it.
Yeah.
It already sounds like some fucking D&D Stranger Things shit, and I'm into it. I like the little like female vocal sample in the background that would play every now and then. It's like, oh, or something. Like I don't know what exactly it was, but
Uh-oh. Yeah.
uh-oh, and then like yeah, kind of dreamy.
It's like a
All
Teletubby or something.
yeah, exactly. Which any Teletubby fucking sample, I'm all about that. Uh,
You're it's weird how long your playlist is for that, by the way.
oh, you can find it if you go looking for it. You'll find a bunch of Teletubby samples,
Yeah.
and it's weirdly sexual. It's mostly sexual, but
I know.
yeah, okay, good. You know me.
All right.
But yeah, the shimmering synth, all the echoes, it had kind of a Western vibe on the guitar too, like it's kind of like country Western, or like, spaghetti Western more type of vibe on the guitars.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was extremely a very soft and smooth song through most of it.
Yeah, dude, I wanted that distorted riff to come in so many times, and they teased you with it. Like they gave me blue buds, like because they kept teasing me with that fucking riff, and I wanted so badly for it to happen, and it never did. And I'm just like, I like them. They're withholding too.
They're like me.
They're like me. That's what
Yeah.
this album was just made for me.
And don't worry, guys, Blue Bloods t-shirts are coming out soon.
Yes, yes.
We are gonna get that trademarked
It's
very quickly.
super veiny.
Patient is a note that I had for this song.
Patient.
And I think that's
Yes.
something that I've still only listened to the first album. I feel like that's something they had to learn. Is
Yeah,
like this
absolutely.
patience and this they have to like kind of lower it down a bit.
There were no dynamics in their music at all up
It
until
was mostly
Hard
just
By Number
brash
Two.
and in your face.
Yeah. Yeah. And that machine gun kick drum will like never get old on their stuff where it's just like like
I do
super,
love
super fast.
that.
I fucking love it, dude.
Uh and speaking of a song, speaking of shit that goes hard, I'm going to go ahead and go to my second nug, which is Throw Me Down the Stairs,
Yeah, man.
which is it's basically a rock song
It's kind of
with
a
a
metal guitar riff.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like kind of a riff I associate with them just because he loves his climbing riffs.
Yes.
Where he's just like gah, 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 gah,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
like keeps going and you don't know when it's gonna stop.
And the song just feels huge. Like once it really gets into it, the song feels massive. Like it's like if these guys are made for a stadium or an arena, like it's
Oh
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, with big old lights syncopated to the hits. But
Yeah.
then every once in a while, it'll just kind of like, ooh, like get hit back into like a
Yeah.
radio lo-fi sounding.
That bridge, right? That bridge gets like way quieter and they kind of get chill. And just the music, we could say of every single track on this record, the music is all over the place on Throw Me Down the Stairs,
Yeah.
but still somehow cohesive and catchy and fun and aggressive and pretty and ugly and like everything in between. And it's just I'm glad we listened to this one. I'm glad Ellie's cousin recommended this song to us or this album to us because I was kind of very content with Texas. I didn't really plan on necessarily going back to their previous records, and I'm glad I listened to this one.
I am too, man. I It made me want to go and listen to their other stuff again. I think Treats is still my favorite album just because I love how hard in the paint it went the whole time.
Yeah.
And it had a couple chill moments, but like it makes sense that this was the trajectory that they would go in. I personally might have wished they would have gone even crazier, even more experimental into like maybe a breakcore or a horror kind of vibe, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
makes sense, you
But
know?
like we said on Texas, I think Texas was that next step after this album, right? Like I think they do give themselves a little bit more as weird as it might be to say, a little more creative freedom on Texas than they did on this one in a weird way. But I think you're right. They discover their dynamics, they discover their pauses, and they're uh allowing to build tension and anticipation for things. God damn, we're just okay. Well, that's our time today on Earbuds Podcast. Brett, what would you rate Jessica Rabbit, my dude?
Great album, consistent, maybe a little too consistent at times.
Interesting.
For the vibe, I'm giving this a 7.8.
7.8. I'm gonna go relatively higher than that, conservatively higher. I think the combo of everything we were saying, the rock, the pop, psych, bubblegum pop, fucking hair metal, new wave, adult contemporary, it's just like it's so unique to Sleigh Bells. I don't know anyone else that's writing music like this, and if they are, I don't know anyone else that's writing it as good as them and performing it as good as them. I think Alexis's voice is incredible and it works so weirdly well with this
Such a
music.
simp.
I'm simping hard, and I really did wish I knew the other person's name.
Yeah, well, it's like she only is credited for like melody and vocal recording. He does literally everything else, and he
Yeah.
like on Wikipedia, you can click on her page, and he doesn't even have one. It's like,
And they're married,
okay,
right?
God,
They're married, right?
are they? I
I
don't
think
think
so.
they are.
I think they're a couple. I think
Huh.
they're a couple. Well, I mean,
Oh,
it just tells you the rest of the world thinks the way I do. The only person that matters is Alexis.
all right.
But I'm gonna give
Okay.
it. I really, really enjoyed this album. I remember I gave Texas like a 9 point something. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a solid 8.8.
8.8. That's pretty dang good, man. Thank you all for listening to this episode. We plan on doing more of these listener appreciation episodes in the future. So if you want to comment some albums in the YouTube comments, in the podcast comments, on the Instagram comments,
Where can they find us on Instagram, dude?
I'll tell you, they can find us at EBPcast on
Okay.
Instagram, at Jean-Luc Guitard, at Brett Hanrahan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't message us with album recommendations. I'm just gonna go ahead and get in front of that.
No DMs.
No DMs,
All right.
but you can look at my pretty pictures that I take.
Yeah, no DMs, please. But yeah, man, keep sending us recommendations, buddies. Like we're really enjoying these albums. We definitely have another fan appreciation, listener appreciation episode coming out soon. We're going to be talking about Mozzie's. Is it Unfinished Business? Is what the album's called?
What the fuck? It's called Beyond Bulletproof.
Beyond Bulletproof. He has like 19 records. Okay.
He
I just
does. That's
saw the
we'll get
list.
into that.
We'll get into that. But we're also going to be talking about another kind of crazy album, kind of in the same vein as Jessica Rabbit, but not really, by Aesthetic Perfection. It was that's going to be a really interesting conversation. But buddies, look us up on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, give us a rating, give us a like, a subscribe. Brett, what would you rate this episode?
I'm rating this fucking out of 10.
Bye, buddies.
Bye, y'all.